thing that the enemy will try and do is to rob you of your perspective, is to rob you of your hope, is to rob you of your belief. Because if you stop trying, if you stop believing that that thing is possible, the enemy doesn't even have to throw any more curveballs, right? Because your actions concur. Okay, hey guys, and welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 11, which is crazy that we made it to episode 11.
Well, not crazy, but...
Well, crazy good. Like, it's like...
I knew we were going to get here.
Yeah, no, I knew we'd get here. Like, it's crazy. Like, oh, that's crazy.
Yeah,
like,
nah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool that we made it to episode 11. It feels like peeling back the layers. So if this is your first episode and you've watched the vlogs, you know, you see us do our day-to-day life, this is really the space where we kind of like take that back a bit and kind of, you know, talk through the method behind the...
Not the madness.
Not the madness. The method behind the order, let's call it that.
Yeah, and we love our YouTube family, and
We do.
you know, back in the day we used to do a lot of sit-down videos, and a lot of people used to say, when are you going to bring back the sit-downs? Which is why we kind of did the podcast in the first place, just to have those conversations and those spaces to discuss all the rich topics that we can't really get to dive into.
Yeah, because YouTube, I mean, it's a visual platform.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've been doing YouTube for like, is it 4 years now?
It's since 2021. Somebody do the math. That's about 3.5 years.
3.5, 4 years.
Yeah.
So we've kind of understood. There's like a ratio. There's a certain amount of, B-roll, showing people, and then kind of talking. So it doesn't really create the space to kind of like fully sit down and talk in the same way that our podcast does.
No, but we like conversations, which is why we
like
were
talking,
determined to create a space for that.
Exactly.
And we know there's a good portion of our YouTube audience that feel the same way. So
Exactly. So,
welcome.
Yeah, welcome. So today's episode is really going to be about finding contentment in the season that you're in. And I guess today's topic, it came from what we've kind of been experiencing over the last kind of like few months. So yeah, we're going to be sharing a couple of tips, as well as kind of sharing stories, like things that we've gleaned, because I think we always want to be kind of aiming for more, right? Like we want to be aiming to kind of be the best version of ourselves. And you know, to have more and to be more. But I think nonetheless there are some seasons in life, and I think you guys know, if you watch this podcast episode, probably every episode I mention how social media has kind of like screwed with us.
Somebody's going to say you've got an agenda against social media.
I don't have an agenda against social media, but I think it's actually an incredible tool. I work on social media. I think it's an incredible tool, but I think as with all incredible tools, it's really important to kind of have parameters and guidelines, and to also kind of know the other side of things, so you don't kind of like basically fall victim to it. And I think one of the things that social media has done, it has made us forget the natural order of things, which is that life is seasonal. You know, there is fall, there is winter, there is summer, there is spring. Things don't grow all of the time, right? There's actually a season where things die. There's a scripture in Ecclesiastes, which talks about, you know, there's a time for everything, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to weep, and a time to laugh. So with that being said, as much as like we don't want to constantly be in an up season, you know, where your money's up, you know, everything that you want is coming to you at once, the nature of life is sometimes we have low seasons, we have seasons of waiting, we have seasons where God is telling you not right now, you know, whether it's that you're waiting for a baby, you're waiting to move, you're waiting for a job, like a season of waiting basically. And that's, I think, the season that we've kind of like been in, and we'll kind of expand on it as we kind of go through the episode. But yeah, we wanted to share some tips that have been helping us to really find contentment in this season.
Yeah. And just to add, I think I was reading something actually this morning in my devotional about prayer, and it was just a reminder for me. It's something that I'm sure we all know as Christians, which is that when you pray, there can be three answers. It can be yes, it can be no, it can be wait.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people, and I've fallen into this trap as well, you say the prayer, and then if you don't hear anything, or you don't get the thing instantly, then you almost like get a bit resentful towards
Mm-hmm.
God.
Right.
It's like, is he still listening? You know, does he still answer prayer like he used to
Yeah.
back in the biblical days? But I think that key point of it can also be a waiting season.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a really good reminder for me because sometimes you don't even know what God is protecting you from.
It's true.
Like you could be praying for this, massive wealth or a baby or whatever it is that your prayer is, big
Yeah.
car,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't actually know the weight that comes with having that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes God needs to take you through a season of, and I feel like I'm spoiling a bit of what we're going to talk about,
Mm-hmm.
but a bit of a shaping season
Yeah.
to kind of prepare you to actually handle the thing that you're praying for.
Yeah, 100%. So we're going to get into all of that. And also a big shout out to the premium members of our community. We recently had a Zoom call together and it was so encouraging, like hearing the different seasons that you guys are in as well. Like whether it's like you're studying, you're kind of, waiting for that or you're planning to launch something. It was just really encouraging to kind of have that back and forth. So there are a few of you who are premium members who like haven't joined the Zoom,
Oh, yeah,
and that's
that's true.
open to you every single month. We have a Zoom call, we chat, we pray together, we share our goals, we receive accountability, so make sure you join up to that. And if you want the opportunity to kind of see us in real time, then make sure you can upgrade to premium as well, or you can just sign straight up to premium. You don't have to go from a standard membership to premium, you can just sign straight on. So just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, and if there are any technical issues, because maybe some premium members
Yes.
are not sure how to access the group chat or the Zoom, then just drop us an email, 2and10,000@gmail.com.
Yeah.
We'll guide you through how to access everything.
100%. Should we dive in?
Let's do it.
Cool. So yeah, we'll be sharing basically 5 tips to kind of help you to find contentment in the season that you're in. And these are things that we have lived, walked through. These are things that we are currently walking through. And that is also our commitment with this podcast episode. We don't claim to know everything, but I think we take the responsibility of being voices that, people come to listen to seriously. So because of that, we're not just going to spew stuff that we haven't, walked through. So yeah, first tip is to make a plan. I think when you're kind of like wanting and desiring something, there's kind of a restless energy that kind of comes with it, right? That feeling of like, I feel like I want to do something. And that can cause a lot of anxiety. Say, for example, if it's, you're wanting a baby, like maybe you're in a season where like you've been trying, or like us, like you guys, we have shared with our community, we are wanting to grow our family. But I think we are really clear on, okay, there's a couple of things that need to happen for us to be able to do this well.
Yes.
And we've also shared, like, I think the nature of, like, even us two, I'm very much more that person who's like, let's go, let's do this now. And you're more, like, cautious and like, okay, cool,
Tranquilo.
let's make a plan. So I think, yeah, doing just that, like if there is something that you're waiting on, making a plan can really, really help you to kind of, I think, yeah, find contentment and to kind of find joy. So if it's, okay, cool, like we're wanting to have a baby, like maybe writing a list of like, here are 5 things that we kind of need to do, things that are in your control, by the way, that are gonna help us to feel ready for this, rather than just kind of, feeling like you have to spend all of your time fighting with God for this thing to happen. So it could be like, I mean, I know like for us, like Winston has a license, but he has to get UK license and get a car modified in the UK. So that's going to be really important when we grow our family. Even getting the house to a place where it's kind of like stable. Getting home systems in place. I'm a big believer in having systems in areas of your life, and for us, even in the home, right, like that's, whether it's someone to kind of like help with the cleaning, like someone that I can really rely on, having a community of people that we can call on, like when we do need help, with Malika and like things like that. It's just kind of like having things in place. And even I think financially, we shared a few episodes ago how basically things kind of took a turn for the worse for us financially. It was like things were really stable and good and predictable with YouTube, and then things just kind of changed with our agency and things like that. So things are coming back up now, but we have things that we basically need to take care of. So I think one thing that really helped us was sitting down and writing, okay, cool, here are our most urgent debts or things that we need to pay off, and making a plan of things that we can control. So for example, YouTube is our full-time job, so we made a commitment, okay, cool, we're going to post 6 videos a month, we're going to post this many short forms, and make sure that plan incorporates things that are within your control.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to focus on the things that you can't control. Like, you can't control the nature of the economy, but you can control how many hours you put into your work. You may not be able to control, like, if there are things going on fertility-wise, but, think about what are the things that you can control and kind of make a plan towards that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think on that point of making a plan, I think one of the things that I've been thinking about is through some of the, like, rough times, the bumps in the road that we've experienced recently, I think with that, there's a lot of lessons to be learned. And I think there's an opportunity there to almost stress test the things that you want. So if it is the baby, like I want a baby, but for example, we went through this season where Malika had surgery, right? And she needed like a lot of our attention, a lot of care. And I think you can actually use that scenario to stress test, okay, so what would that look like if there was another baby, right? Or, if we need to work, right? But our baby also needs us at the same time. And so I think as we are making all of these plans, it's also having that mindset of just stress testing it a little bit so that you're not just asking for the thing, but you're also asking for the wisdom and the grace and the resources to manage it in all seasons.
100%.
Right? And I think that's something that I've become more aware of, and that's made me even be okay with that waiting season. It's like, okay, cool, like I'm prepared to like wait a little bit until we build out a bit more support, for example, with Malika.
Yeah, it gives you the time to actually develop those things, so you can, like you just said so beautifully, like you can kind of think, if I did have this thing that I was praying for, whether it was the job or going full-time in my business or the baby, like what are the things that would be causing me stress right now? And then your plan is strategically taking care of each of those things. Okay, cool, I'd probably need a nanny so we can take a date night once a week, or if I'm trying to go full-time in my business and that's the thing that I'm waiting on, I'd want to have like a booking system that allows me to book clients easily without going back and forth. Get those things in place. Your plan should look like all of the things that if you were to fast forward to 2 or 3 months when you have the thing that you're anticipating, your plan is basically you strategically ticking off those things that you are going to wish that you had the time to do later on in that season.
Yeah, because having a baby and quitting that job, it's actually not that hard.
No. Well.
it's everything.
Having a baby is
Yeah, I mean, open for debate. But actually doing the thing normally, or at least taking a step towards it, is not that hard.
Yeah, you mean like making a baby?
Yeah, like make
baby. I thought you meant, birthing baby that's hard. But yeah, no,
we're getting into political waters here. Okay, there's birthing the baby, and then there's looking after that baby for the next 18 to 21 years.
Yeah.
Right, so they're hard in different ways, and you have to prepare for both.
Yeah.
Right, so, yeah, and I think the other thing that came to mind is with the point of making a plan. And we've spoken about this as well, but cause sometimes we'll feel anxious about different things.
Yeah.
And making a plan helps. I think there was a quote, I think I shared it with you one time. It said, anxiety hates a plan.
Yeah.
And it's something that we really leaned into, because sometimes that's all you can do.
Right.
Like, if you've got, I don't know, even finance problems or, your health, whatever it is that you're trying to get to, sometimes all you can do is just say, okay, I'm going to commit to doing this one thing today.
Right. Yeah, I mean, even like moving to this home is a testament of that. You guys have watched the YouTube video of where literally we started off the week not knowing how we were going to move, and by the end of the week we were in this home. And at the time we didn't have everything that we needed to make that happen, but we sat down and we wrote a plan of things that we could control. Okay, cool, I'm going to go pick up some boxes to allow us to pack. we're going to go to house viewings to make sure, you know, we're getting the best home that we can. We're going to send this email to make this happen. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. We just made a plan of the things that we could control, and then had faith that God would take care of the things that we couldn't control.
Yeah.
Because in the Bible it says, like, faith without works is dead. So the works is the planning and the working towards it. And of course you need a little bit of faith to make big things happen. But you have to allow God to do his bit and focus on doing your bit. Right. And I think that sometimes as Christians, something that we can fall into is just like, I'm just going to get on my knees, I'm going to pray. That's awesome. But there are some things that you can do within your control that, you know, it actually shows that you do have faith. Work should be inspired by the fact that I believe this is really going to happen.
Yeah.
Like when we were packing those boxes before we had confirmation that we would be moving in, or before we had a signed lease, I was literally packing boxes that we would have needed. That's what faith looks like in action. It's easy to say I have faith, but when you're actually moving towards it, like when you're actually getting a bigger home, because, you know, you are trusting God for a baby, like when you are actually, you know, speaking to people and speaking to clients and saying, hey, I'm expanding my business and I'm taking on new clients, that's what shows you really believe you're going to get what you've been talking about. Should we move on to tip number 2?
Yes. So tip number 2, we called it tithe.
Yes.
But I think there's like a wider point around just generosity and giving.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that, again, is maybe a little bit counterintuitive when you're going through it.
Right.
Because now imagine, you know, you're having all of these financial problems.
Yeah. You feel like you don't have enough.
You can't pay your bills. So what am I giving away?
Yeah.
What am I giving away? And so it's something that, you know, we've kind of struggled with as well. Because as Christians, you know, tithing is a command.
Yeah.
Right? We're commanded to give back the first tenth of, you know, what we make. Our harvest, obviously these days, we're not harvesting crops and, you know, I don't know, sheep and whatever else. But we're actually, you know, we're in business, people have jobs, people are doing different things to produce income. And so the command is that, you know, we give that first tenth back to the Lord as a sacrifice, as a thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lord, for, you know, putting breath in my lungs, giving me life, giving me the strength to be able to actually go out and do the thing that I did to create all of this 90%.
Yeah, because it's all his. And I think, transparently, we have had seasons where we've tithed as a point, regardless of how much we've had. And we've had seasons where we've been like, I don't think we have enough, and we haven't tithed. And I can tell you, in those seasons where we haven't tithed, we've felt and seen the difference compared to the seasons where we've said we may not have everything that we feel that we need to, but we're going to give that 10%. And I think tithing too, like, because for example for us now, we're still kind of in the process of looking for a church here. Tithing can look like, you know, money to church, but it can also look like giving your time, right? Like I think the biggest antidote to kind of thinking about things that you don't have is to give to someone else. So for example, like, you can give of your time. Like, you can volunteer at women and baby shelter, like whatever it is, like get into the habit of like giving and pouring. If you're trying to get a breakthrough in your business, like, do you have a friend that has a small business that you can buy something from, or, you know, a product? I remember when I was wanting to launch my book, I knew I had a friend who'd already published a book, and I just bought, you know, 10 of his books. Because that's when you pour into something and you bless, like there's a scripture that talks about, you know, give into my storehouse and watch that I won't cause it to come running back to you overflowing, something like that. So it's just that principle of like, instead of, you know, the temptation is to hold on so tightly to the little that you feel that you have, but instead open up and give it, and that actually creates you know, a flow of more abundance into your life as a biblical principle.
And I actually think you touched on something really important there when you spoke about, you know, it's kind of extending the grace that you won as part of your giving. So if you are praying for a business, you know, actually supporting somebody else's business, I think that's really important. You know, if it is a baby that is your prayer, maybe you could look after. I'm sure there's a niece or a nephew somewhere that
Yeah.
you could babysit, right?
Volunteer at a shelter.
Volunteer.
Yeah.
So I think that to me feels like a really good place to kind of, just like you said, get out of your own feelings and out of your own needs and wants,
Yeah.
and actually refocusing that on somebody else and allowing God to take care of you,
Yeah.
right? So I'd rather God was thinking about me than me thinking about me, right? Because He has all the solutions,
Yeah.
right? And instead, I can use that time to pour into, my community, someone that needs it, a family member, a friend.
Yeah, 100%. It's that act of taking our eyes off of ourselves is the biggest way that you'll find you'll never find contentment in your season if you're continuing to look at everything that you don't have and everything that you want. So get into the practice of tithing, whatever that looks like in this season for you. Like if you really don't have like the money to, like you probably have the time to. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. So the third tip is to be resourceful. I think we can have a very clear picture of what it is. Take, for example, like this home. You guys know, if you watch our channels, I'm very particular about the decor that I want in our house, like the vibe and the feeling that I want in our house. But in this season, I've had to find ways to, like, basically make do with what we have, and that's kind of encouraged me to try thrifting and just be okay with like version 1, which again, we live in a society that like doesn't like the level up process, because you go on Instagram and no one starts off with a beat up car anymore. It goes straight to, oh, I have a Range Rover. When they have the car and it's wrapped in the red bow, that's all we have. Like no one, it's no longer like, I had a banger like when I first started driving and I was 17, and I was glad to have that because you're learning. But again, no one starts off like in a little house with like beat up, unmatching furniture anymore. Everyone is, CB2, pottery, but like you have all of the furniture. But again, that is not reality, because the truth is, like, a lot of the times if you get something quick, you also lose it quick because you don't actually develop the skills. Having something and then leveling up, what that builds is stewardship, right? Like starting small. Like your business starting small is a blessing because you get to develop stewardship. You get to make mistakes before the stakes are really, really high. So I think resourcefulness is saying, okay, cool, what can I do with what I have? So for example, for us, pretty much everything in our home, like the big furniture pieces, are either gifted or thrifted. And a lot of the times, like, because we're so fixed on this is what I want and I want it now, we can lose out on a potential blessing. So I'll give you an example. Recently, we were talking about how we'd really love to have a dining table. I love to cook. I think with having a toddler, it's really important to see them, to have them see meal times modeled. And be able to just sit down together at the table, like have the opportunity to kind of just, have that touch point in the morning at breakfast and then in the evening at dinner. But at the time, we didn't have the money, like it wasn't a priority, like we're really fixed on, these are the things that we want to pay off to be in a good position, and a dining table wasn't incorporated in that. And then I got a text from one of our family friends. She was like, hey, I'm giving away my dining table. Do you guys want it? Otherwise, I'll just give it to Goodwill. And the bougie part of me was like, I know the dining table I want, and this wasn't it. But I had to check myself and be like, wait, hang on a second. This was literally a blessing that I was like saying that I wanted, and I'm going to potentially hold off on it because, of a pick. Do you know what I mean? Like I was going to miss out on a blessing for something that could really bless our family because I was so set on like the picture of what it is that I wanted. And I'm not saying don't strive for the things that you want, but I'm saying it's okay if you have to take the steps to get there instead of like, taking the elevator. It's okay if you start off at level 1 and you have to go to level 2 and then level 3.
Yeah, because nowadays there's no before and after. It's just after. It's after.
Like we all just want to have arrived. Like no one wants to be a work in progress. No one wants their home to be a work in progress. So yeah, that's be resourceful. Like if you don't have the money to buy all of the latest cool things for your baby, thrift them. Like there's something that you can do with what you have right now. Even with this podcast studio, like it looks great. Like, you know, the team have come in, they've got like amazing lighting. This sofa was actually gifted to us, but this isn't the end result. And I think we could have easily been like, oh no, like we don't have all the artwork and things that we want, like let's not do it. But it's like, we're going to be resourceful, we're going to use what we have, we're going to pull a side table from our kitchen, we're going to pull, you know, a blanket from the bed, we're going to pull this from that, and we're going to make it work. Be okay with making it work.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's very, very countercultural,
Yeah.
but I just think it's also necessary. And even, I guess, in other areas of our lives, for example, you know, even dating, right? So, if you followed us for a while, you know that we love a date night, we love to travel, you know, we love kind of pouring back into our marriage and I guess maintaining the romance because we think that's so important. But that's not something we've been able to do in the same way in this season because in a previous season that could have looked like, you know, I don't know, fine dining, you know, traveling.
Nobu.
Went to Mexico last year.
Yeah.
God, feels like a long time ago.
It was a long time. We need a holiday, we really do.
But then in this season, it's been like, okay, so how can we actually romanticize what we have? And I remember you saying, now that we have the dining table, why don't we just do like our own fine dining experience at home? Like, you know, set things up, put the baby to bed, you know, get some candles, you know, have a nice meal together. Dim that we've actually got those kind of lights that they dim in the dining room. It's like, wow, like you could really like set up a little vibe here, you know, and not for a big amount of money. Bless you. And so yeah, just a simple example again of just taking what you have and actually turning it into something more beautiful, which again is what I believe the meaning of stewardship is. Because even in the story in the Bible about the talents, you know, we all know this story, you know, basically two of the people were able to increase the talents that they were given and one of them did not, right? And I think that speaks to what we're supposed to do with the little that we have. You know, if God gives you one, make it two, right? If God gives you 5, make it 10. And so I think that's something that we're really leaning into. But it's also forcing us to kind of face up to, I guess, the conditioning that's all around us when you see people showing you the highlight reel or the after picture without knowing what it took to get there.
Yeah, even in the Bible, there's a scripture that says, do not despise the days of small beginnings. And oftentimes I've crossed that word days out for don't despise the months or even the years of small beginnings. Because even the Bible says it, like there's just progress, like it's starting somewhere and then like progressing. And I think that will really help you in this season if you're struggling to be content with what you have and you're wrestling with that desire for more, is what can you do to be resourceful and enjoy what you have. We have so many examples, like I mean even the car that we have now, your cousins, they live in Boston, but you know,
they used to live in Atlanta and she used to work in Atlanta sometimes.
And they live in Boston. She used to work in Atlanta sometimes.
That makes sense.
You said they used to live in Atlanta.
Oh, sorry. Their home is in Atlanta, but then their home is in Boston, and she used to work in Atlanta part-time. And in Atlanta, she had like a house and a car that she used to use whenever she was down here for work. And basically, long story short, in the end, you know, she moved back to Boston full-time, and she said, hey, you guys are in Atlanta now, why don't you keep the car?
She basically gifted us the car. And we were so grateful because, you know, love them, but it's an old car. Like, it's got, like, its issues. You know, and again, like, we are trusting God, like, for a new car, like, that's more suitable for, like, all of our needs. But it's that, like...
for what we need right now,
it's we've been able to go to the appointments that we need to, like, all of those things. So it's just, like, be resourceful with what you have. Like, don't feel like you're so... It's okay to want stuff, but don't feel like you're so above. I don't know, like, don't let humility be lost on you. Humility is being okay with, like, starting with what you have. But again, because we live in such a society that it's all about show and what it looks like to everyone else, that, you know, we can't be okay with saying, this is what I have right now. and getting more later.
Yeah, and it works. You know, car takes you from A to B.
Mm-hmm.
Go to your
It's been a
appointment.
blessing,
Can
yeah.
do your grocery shopping.
Yeah.
Can go meet with your friends. What
Yeah.
more do you need right now?
It's been a gift.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So the next one that I have, it kind of follows on from what we just spoke about, but it's about having gratitude and perspective for what you do have.
Yeah.
And I feel like we started to talk about this already.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually, yeah, just looking at what you have and actually appreciating it
Mm-hmm.
in the context of this season.
Right.
Like right now, we're good. We're good with the car that we have. We're good with the house that we have.
Yeah.
You know, our business, could it be performing better? Yes, it could. But as of now,
Yeah.
our key needs are provided for.
Yeah, that met.
Right. So having that perspective, again, for me, I think that's a tonic for anxiety, for comparison,
Yeah.
for all these other negative things that can creep in when you're constantly looking, you know, across the road or looking at the next person's social media or, yeah, just judging yourself based on an unrealistic standard.
Yeah.
And, you know, we do this a lot, and I think we've spoken about this on the podcast, you know, when we go on our gratitude walks.
Yeah.
And we take it in turns when we're walking
Yeah.
to just share something that we're grateful for. And I don't think any of us has ever said, oh, thank God for that, you know, $10,000 deal that, you know, we got last year or whatever, or got last month, sorry.
Right.
But it always goes back to little things. I mean, you know, of course, the big deals are amazing and the brand new cars, brand new houses, whatever. But it normally boils down to, okay, you know, appreciate being able to do work that we love and also to be there for our daughter in the way that we are, right? It's, you know, having that car that takes us from A to B and that was also gifted to us by a family member. You know, so I think when you reflect the big things that social media and culture tells you that this is what you should want are actually not the things that give you that intrinsic reward and fulfillment that we all need.
Yeah. And I think I also want to acknowledge that I think it's really tough to be in a place where you want something and it's not happening. It's really tough to be in a place like where if you're single and you're desiring, you know, a meaningful relationship to not have that. It's really tough if you've been trying for years but you're dealing with infertility. It's really tough if you have a dream to make something happen and it's just not happening for you. It's really tough if you're believing for healing and it's just not happening. So I want to acknowledge that those things are really tough and we're with you in that. Because I think it can be hard, right, when someone says, well, just be grateful for what you have. But it's like, yeah, but I really want this thing. So that's not what we're saying. But I want you to, you know, it goes into the final point that we're going to share. But I want you to have hope even in a season of waiting. And I think the only way that you do have hope is your perspective. Like, and you do have to fight for it sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Like when you really want something, you have to fight to say, I'm grateful I have breath in my lungs. And I remember like when I was in New York, I feel like I've shared this story like in different places, but I literally, everything felt like it was like going wrong. Like my card got blocked, so I couldn't make money with coaching at the time because everything was, you know, no one's sending $2,000 in cash. So I couldn't make money from that, and all I had was like, I think I had like 50 books. I just published a poetry book at the time, and the only way I had to make money was to basically go to poetry shows and to sell those books, and that's how I was like basically living. And then I ended up getting some random allergic reaction too, and just my whole skin broke out, and like, you know, basically like not even eczema, it was like worse than eczema. It was like losing, it was like horrible. And just everything felt like it was going wrong. And the biggest thing that changed my life was gratitude. I came across this book, I think it's called Big Magic, not Big Magic, I'll find it and then we'll insert it. But it basically spoke about being grateful for literally every little thing. And that's what I do. It'd be like, hey, I'm grateful that I have breath in my lungs. Today I'm grateful for my health. And each time I would say I'm grateful for something, I'd be met by someone or a situation that would remind me that I have more than I think I have. Like I remember there was a time I was like walking out of the apartment that I was staying at, and there was this elderly lady She couldn't get up her stairs. Like, I saw her and I was like, hey, let me help you up, and I helped her, but it literally took everything she had in her to make up 3 stairs up to her apartment block. And just that morning I was thinking, oh, I'm so annoyed that, like, you know, my skin's doing this. And I was like, wow, like I can move my body. Like, it doesn't hurt me to put one foot in front of the other. And it was a fight, again, like I said, in those moments, to find gratitude for what I had. But the more that I like fought to maintain that perspective, the more I was met with examples and reasons to be grateful. So I just want to say that, like, it's tough to want something, and you know, it's difficult, but I think you can find some hope in leaning into gratitude and perspective.
Yeah, and even for us, it's tough sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, when bad things happen, you know, your mind doesn't automatically go to, okay, let's be grateful for this huge, you know, lawsuit.
No.
For example, and
Just thrown out as a random example.
yeah, it's, again, like you said, you know, it's, you have to fight for it.
Yeah.
You have to fight for it, and even if on some days you can only say, like, dear God, I'm grateful for oxygen, and that's it.
That's what you got.
Like, start there, there, because we've all been there. We've all been in those situations where, like, yeah, you're sad, you're upset. Sometimes you're angry.
Yeah.
And it's very patronizing for someone to say, like, yeah, but you just give thanks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're right. It's important to acknowledge that.
Definitely.
And for people to feel like they can start wherever they are, because we've had to do that on many occasions.
Definitely. So the final one is continue to have faith. And I think this is so important, because when you're talking about things like, okay, be okay with what you have, we're not saying, okay, be complacent in that. Be complacent with the dining table that's not really your dream dining table. Like, still want the dining table that you want to have, and have faith for those things. And I think it takes such an incredible amount of strength when you've been in a season where it's felt like delay after delay after delay, to still keep dreaming, to still keep being excited for that thing. But I want to encourage you, and I want to tell you, don't stop. Like, when you're in a season of waiting, when you're in a season where the thing isn't here yet, fight to keep dreaming. Like, fight to still daydream. Like, again, even if it's, you know, you've been wanting a baby. I'm mentioning this example because we have some friends who, they were wanting a baby for a long time, and now they're pregnant, and we're so happy for them. But I can imagine, like, how much of a fight it takes to, like, allow yourself to, like, browse through baby catalogs, or to allow yourself to watch those really cute baby videos on YouTube, and to be like, oh, that's going to be mine one day. Like, it takes incredible strength. But I want to encourage you to keep having it, because I think people do have the temptation, like, to, you know, if you've wanted something for so long and you've been speaking about it, there's a temptation for other people to maybe discount that, or be like, you know, just be all right with what you have. Like, don't worry about it. But, like, no, like, I want you to find contentment and joy in the season that you're in. But I also don't want you to lose hope. I want you to keep having faith for the thing that you still want. I want you to keep having faith for that beautiful relationship, for that beautiful marriage, even if you've experienced heartache and different things of that nature. Keep having faith. And it says in the Bible, faith comes by hearing of the word. So keep surrounding yourself with people who are going to lift you up. Keep surrounding yourself with people, and I think it's balance, right? Like, it can be triggering, like, if there's something that you really want, to constantly be seeing that, like, say you're wanting a baby or you're wanting a house, and everything on your feed is, oh, I just bought a new house, or I just had a baby. So you need to have that discernment to, like, hey, maybe this isn't helping me. But I think as much as you can, if you can surround yourself by people who will encourage you, then that's a good thing. You know, not necessarily like social media, which just kind of doesn't tell it's a highlight reel, right? It doesn't tell the full story of, like, hey, this is what they actually went through to get to this, and that's what can make you feel a bit lousy when you're wanting something and it looks like someone else got it easy.
Yeah, for sure. And also, just to add to that, is God never forgets. And I think that's really important to remember.
Yeah.
Because the whole world will forget that you wanted that baby.
Yeah.
Or that you want that baby. If you've been trying for 5 years, people will ask you the first year, like, hey, you guys just got married, like, when's the baby coming? And then year 2 be like, when's the baby coming? And year 3 be like, by year 5, no one's talking about it.
Asking,
But God never forgets that
good.
dream,
Yeah, that's
that
good.
thing that He put on your heart. You wanted to be a parent, you wanted to be a dad, a mom. Like, God is there. To God, that is still as loud as on the day when you really felt that impression that I am going to be a parent one day. And I think that's really reassuring for me and hopefully for someone watching this to hold on to.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when the world forgets, we try to make ourselves forget.
That's good.
Because it's like, okay, well, no one's talking about it now.
Yeah.
Like,
Maybe I should let it go.
maybe I should just be happy in the role of cool uncle or cool auntie.
Yeah.
Because that's what everyone calls me now anyway. Right? But no, that's not what you're called to do. God thinks you're a father.
Yeah.
You know, God says you're a mother.
Yeah.
And that to Him is still going to happen without a doubt.
Yeah.
And so you should always hold on to that. And also, like you said, surround yourself with those people who also see that for you, who speak that into life. When, you know, the aunties and the uncles have moved on to, you know, to the new cousin that just got married, right? So God never forgets.
Yeah, I feel that. And I want to say this directly to someone is don't give up on your dream. And I know it sounds like cheesy and it feels like something that you've heard, but I know for the person or the people that this is for, you'll feel this. Like, do not give up on your dream. Like, I don't care how many months, years, or decades that it's been, that thing that was on your heart, it was put on your heart for a reason. And everything that the enemy will try and do is to rob you of your perspective, is to rob you of your hope, is to rob you of your belief. Because if you stop trying, if you stop believing that that thing is possible, the enemy doesn't even have to throw any more curveballs, right? Because your actions concur with that thing. I was reading about this when I was ill last week with food poisoning, and it's this thing called sick behavior or something like that, which is basically like when you're ill, like you start behaving in a way that you're basically kind of like retreat socially, like you stay in your bed, like all of those things. And I think a similar thing happens when we give up, you know, on our dreams. Like, even if there's nothing externally that's confirmed, oh yeah, you're never going to be a homeowner, you're never going to be like, you know, a parent, you start acting in that way because you take on that identity, right? And then the enemy doesn't even have to put up a fight. He doesn't even have to throw any arrows because you're not doing anything in the direction. You've already surrendered. So that's the thing that you have to fight for, is your perspective. You have to fight for your hope. And the rest of the things, the mountains that you can't move yourself, God will move them. Like the gates of steel that you can't break yourself, God will break them. The high mountains that you can't bring low, God will bring them low, right? Like the obstacles that you can't overcome, God will help you to overcome them. But what you have to guard is your mind. No one can do that for you. Like, I can't do that for you, right? Like, God can't even do that for you. It says you have to guard your mind. Like, in the Bible it says guard your mind, like guard your heart, for out of it the abundance of, out of it the issues of life flow. So that is your job. Like, it's to guard your mind. And then everything else, like the things that seem impossible, trust that we have a big God that will do it.
Yeah, so that's our 5 keys to, I guess just really making the most out of the moment that you're in.
Yeah, finding contentment.
Yeah, and we appreciate that, you know, again, this is a tough season for many people. Right? So much going on in the world economically, like people are losing jobs, people are having, you know, mental health is a big thing. You know, a lot of private struggles that we don't know about. And so we hope that this will bring some hope, a little bit of encouragement to someone who might be going through some of that. And as always, you know, we love to see your questions. We love to see your comments and your feedback on the episode. And actually, we've just shared some of our own tips and some of the things that have worked for us in this season that we're in. But we'd also love to learn from you as well, you know, see what's working. You know, what are some of the practices that are helping you navigate the various things that you're going through. And again, for the premium members, you know, looking forward to connecting with you in the group chat and on Zoom. And just carrying on this conversation. And
if you feel comfortable too, like, because again, like the reason that we created this podcast separately to just YouTube as a whole and put it in a membership form where, you know, it's gated. And the reason why it's on Patreon is because we want this to be a community of people who actually want to be here, people with the right intentions. So if you feel comfortable to, like, share if there's something that you're believing for, you're hoping for, like, if you feel comfortable to share in the comments. And a really cool thing I think that's going to happen is you're probably going to be met by someone who's like, oh yeah, I'm going through that too.
Yeah.
Or I've walked through that too and I overcame it. And yeah, like, I think, you know, we were in our Zoom call with one of our members. She was sharing, you know, at the end of every call we share, okay, what's something that we can be praying for you for the month ahead, or something that we can hold you accountable for. And she kind of said, she shared a little bit, and then she kind of said, you know, I'll share more as we go on. It takes me a little bit of a while to open up. And I love that she said that, because it's true, like, building deep relationship, which is really what we want to have in this platform, it takes time, right? And you have to feel safe and comfortable to do that. But at the same time, you know, if you have been watching for a while and you are wanting to go deeper with us and with this community, there's the opportunity for you to do that there as well. So if you need encouragement and you feel comfortable sharing, this is completely a safe space, you know, to do so. So yeah, just wanted to say that. But as always, thank you guys so much for listening, for watching. As my husband said, if you have any questions, comments, things like that, we want to hear from you. We want this to be a back and forth dialogue and a conversation. And yeah.
See you in the next one.